You're watching Newsday TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Bufa. Only in Newsday, a man has been acquitted of attempted murder in a road rage incident that was caught on a dash cam. You're looking at the fight in Franklin Square last year after a fender bender, mind you, on the Southern State Parkway. The jury found 21-year-old Rashawn Marquez guilty of assault and carrying a weapon. The Lakeview man faces up to 7 years in prison when he's sentenced. And Nassau authorities have identified the victims in last week's double homicide. Authorities claim Roni Yahir Alva Rangel Rivera confessed to stabbing both women. 32-year-old Eddie Raquel Hernandez Castillo was his neighbor in Valley Stream. 42-year-old Ana Maria del Aguila Cordova was his co-worker at a Wendy's in Island Park. Rivera has pleaded not guilty. And 10 people, including 4 children, are without a home after a fire this morning. Now, it happened on Rainer Street in Freeport, and officials say the fire started in the garage and then spread. Luckily, no one was hurt. And state officials announced overnight road closures near Hofstra University. Hempstead Turnpike between Glen Curtis Boulevard and Hendrickson Avenue will be closed between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. The repaving work is expected to last about 2 weeks. And we are a little more than a month away from the U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills.
The history and the legacy and all those things that have come about through the years between Shinnecock and the USGA make this U.S. Open venue truly special.
About 40,000 people are expected to attend. The U.S. Open was last held in Southampton, 2018. The events start on June 15th. And before we get to your Long Island weather, we have some news about the Newsday TV team. Jeff Banson is our new meteorologist. Jeff will help you bring the detailed weather updates that you need and help you plan your day, along with in-depth coverage for snowstorms and hurricanes. So welcome to the team, Jeff. But for now, here's a look at your quick local weather. And tomorrow, it's looking like rain. Temps will be in the 60s, clouds and rain overhead pretty much throughout the day. We'll have that 7-day forecast for you later in the broadcast. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced it will consider regulating microplastics in our drinking water. Newsday environmental reporter Tracy Tullis explains.
The EPA is now considering regulating microplastics as a possible contaminant in drinking water. That has never been done before. It's not standard practice on Long Island. The Suffolk County Water Authority last year did do some testing, and they tested some spots where they expected there might be, it was more likely that they would find microplastics there. It was places like near a dump. Fortunately, they didn't find any microplastics in the testing that they did.
Authorities say a rise in social media meetups is creating challenges for law enforcement. Huge teen gatherings across Long Island have ended when police show up. And authorities say all these meetups have one thing in common.
It was advertised through social media, through Snapchat and other social media avenues such as that.
It was a gathering of a blood gang group. We have an invite that went out over social media.
We assign somebody to work the social media side of things. That's how these individuals communicate. For them, it's not worth doing unless you put it out on social media.
Do both tires, go, 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 go. We out! We out!
That was a street racing meetup in Islip that ended with multiple car crashes. Earlier this year, almost a dozen teens were arrested at an attempted takeover at Green Acres Mall. And at a barbecue in Eisenhower Park, which was promoted on social media, that ended when a 15-year-old got shot and killed. I'm joined by John Jay College of Criminal Justice professor and retired NYPD detective Michael Alcazar and Newsday reporter Robert Brodsky. Now, Michael, we'll start with you. What kind of challenges does law enforcement encounter when it comes to these meetups?
So some of the challenges is if it's an agency that doesn't have a dedicated social media investigative unit like a computer crime squad, then you'll have to assign detectives to monitor these accounts. And again, the challenge is because these gangs, these kids, they get on multiple different accounts, Instagram, TikTok. So you have to have a lot of, you have to have a detective that's basically tech savvy, that can monitor hashtags, that can identify the language. And if they're not solely dedicated to that type of investigation, it might be challenging if they're not tech savvy.
Now, Robert, as we saw, there's many different kinds of meetups. So which recent social media meetup on Long Island stands out to you the most, and what happened there?
Well, as we've seen, many of these meetups are gang-related, but others are involved in more social media, TikTok-style challenges. Others are unruly high school and college students meeting post-graduation. So we've seen, in addition to the Eisenhower event, we saw this Green Acres Mall, this takeover event that was promoted on TikTok as one of their TikTok challenges. We've also seen large gatherings that ended up in major fights at Jones Beach State Park. A few years back, we saw in Long Beach, we saw several shootings that occurred during a event in which it was a senior cut day. There was one individual who was shot and seriously injured. Several people were arrested in that incident.
Now, Michael, what goes into monitoring social media for these meetups? What happens behind the scenes?
So investigators have to identify patterns. They have to identify posts, which is ever changing, right? So they might post that they're going to have a meetup, and that could happen in minutes. So they have to be Johnny on the spot. You know, it's more reactive than proactive, and it takes a lot of investigative time to identify these individuals. You have to follow them on their accounts. You have to monitor any kind of beef that they have, any kind of challenges to rival gangs. So they have to track all these patterns, and hopefully they can track down, identify when they're going to have a meetup.
So what kind of action are we seeing here on Long Island by law enforcement to stop or try to stop these meetups?
Right, it's very difficult. Both Nassau and Suffolk Police Departments and their respective district attorneys' offices told me that their officials do monitor social media, trying to stay one step ahead of many of these events. Unfortunately, it's very difficult. There's a large number of these social media outlets out there, and trying to stay ahead of them, trying to be proactive as opposed to being reactive to these events is difficult. They say they monitor these social media posts, advertisements, parties, vehicle meetups, any of these kind of similar events, barbecues. You combine these events often in the summer with alcohol, potentially with gang members. It's very difficult to stay abreast of every event in every possible location on every social media site.
Thank you to retired NYPD Detective Michael Alcazar and Newsday reporter Robert Brodsky. Thank you so much for joining us. You're watching Newsday TV. For more on this story, go to Newsday.com, click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. The Knicks are off to a hot start in the semifinals after crushing the Sixers in Game 1 at the Garden.
Brunson going right at him. He'll pull up and hit. And you think the Garden crowd...
Jalen Brunson dropped 27 of his 35 points in the first half, the second most scored in a half in Knicks postseason history. Knicks beat writer Steve Popper tells us what's next for the team.
This is Steve Popper for Newsday Sports, reporting from Madison Square Garden, where the Knicks took Game 1 pretty much the way they took Game 4, 5, and 6 against Atlanta. Another blowout. These 4 games are the largest margin of victory that any team has ever done in 4 consecutive playoff games. And what they did was, again, just a end-to-end demolition. Garbage time started by, I guess, the end of the third quarter. Jalen Brunson got them started, but really it was everyone that played today just seemed to be clicking. Some of it may be the Sixers just coming off an emotional Game 7 win against the Celtics. To get to this point, they're clearly a better team than what they showed tonight. But the Knicks, again, just pieced together offense, defense, everything working in sync. They have 2 days to get this going again, and Jalen Brunson was one to warn that this is not the Sixers team they think they're going to see in Game 2.
You got to take this game with a grain of salt and just kind of move forward. And I don't think we're going to see that team that we saw in Game 1 and Game 2. they're going to be ready to go.
Sixers, by the way, lost this way to Boston in Game 1, came back and won the series. So I think the Knicks are kind of using that as sort of a basis for not taking too much out of this first game and realizing that they've still got a series to get through here. Karl Anthony Towns also added at the end that this was great, but unless we get 3 more, it doesn't mean anything. So I think they've got the right attitude going forward, and we'll see Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden when they have Game 2. This is Steve Popper for Newsday Sports.
We continue to highlight the jobs you do. In this week's LI Works, I get boats ready for the summer season.
There's lots to do before a boat can float during the on-season. And to help us navigate the prepping journey is none other than
Dante Grover here from Al Grover's High and Dry. I'm the owner-operator of this marina. I've been doing this for 45 years. I love my job because I love to see people get out on the water and enjoy the day.
While seeing boats get moved around like children's toys, Grover says each one of the 500 stored here have to go through multiple processes.
You're gonna unwrap, take shrink wrap off of boats. We may have you bottom paint the boats, replace zincs, get a coat of wax on the boat.
And with each process, there's a job to be filled and a skill to be developed.
Launcher is an equipment operator. He's gonna take the boat off of the blocks, either pick it up with a forklift and a travel lift, drop it in the water, and then there'll be an operator to run that boat, start the engines, make sure that all the thermostats and pumps and everything on those motors are working.
And if you want to get in on the boat launching action, Grover says no worker is a one-man crew because it takes teamwork to right the ship.
Teamwork is crucial. We won't tolerate anything less than full cooperation between team members here. Whether you're working in the office, working as a mechanic, working as a bottom paint or a waxer, detailer, because there's so many different people that touch that boat to get it from storage to where you're ready to use it.
The job is undoubtedly hands-on, but Grover says it also takes a lot of mental toughness because the boating seasons are short and boat owners are notoriously passionate about never missing a minute.
So if that boat fails or breaks down, the intensity level of that boat owner is just insane. So from Memorial Day to like the 4th of July is just untold amount of pressure on you to perform.
But if you want to get the owners into the blue so they can start filling time with memories, Grover says boat launching and prepping is not quite time well wasted.
You know, you build relationships. Boating is a lifestyle. It's not just a hobby. If you're doing a good job and you're appreciated, you have a sense of fulfillment. And without that, it's just a job. It's just a grind.
Ken Buffa, Newsday TV.
All right, let's take a look at your 7-day forecast to see how the week is shaping up. So tomorrow, yes, we are dealing with rain, but Thursday, Friday, we are dry, temps in the 60s on Friday. Rain again moving in on the weekend Saturday, and next week we'll have it on Monday too, but Sunday, Mother's Day, looks gorgeous with temps in the mid-60s.
Long Island weather is brought to you by Fire Island Ferries.
For more on the stories you've seen here today, head over to Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. I'm Ken Buffa. More news coming up.
Can self-driving cars and other technological advancements reduce crashes and make Long Island safer?
We just need to understand how safe it really is.
Driverless cars, safer roads, now available at Newsday.com/dangerousroads.